Hi, it's Maija here with my Friday reads. I'm currently buddy reading The Clockwork Boys on my Kindle with Rachel from Kalanadi, and this is by T. Kingfisher, and it's a fantasy book. It's a duology about this group of expendable criminals who are sent on this mission by their country because their country is at war and the opposing side has these clockwork soldiers who are highly destructive and they are quite powerless against them. So they sent this group of criminals to try and find out how they are made. They have of course sent like real missions before, but none of them have returned or found out anything useful. So they are now scraping the bottoms of the barrel and sending some criminals instead. I'm almost finished with this and I really like it so far. Last Sunday I also found out that there was this readathon called All the Short Ones readathon going on, which is all about reading books under 300 pages. And since Clockwork Boys was under 300 pages and I have a bunch of short stories I want to read, I decided to take part. I tweeted about it, but I didn't make a video or anything because I found out about it the day that it started. It goes on all the way until the 31st. I wrote the challenges down in my notebook, and I also wrote down a brief list of short things that I own or that I have available to me. And I'm not going by the challenges strictly, but I have fulfilled a few challenges this week. The first challenge was to read a book by a new-to-you author, and just yesterday I read The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and it was so good. It's about this woman who has depression and her husband, who is a doctor, doesn't really allow her to do anything, just stay in bed rest, and she is slowly losing her mind because of this. The second challenge was to read a graphic novel, and I read The Prince and the Dressmaker by Chen Wang, which is this graphic novel about this seamstress who gets hired by the prince to make dresses for him because he has this whole other life as Lady Crystalia, a fashion icon. And I've also fulfilled the challenge of reading a book with a one-word title, which was Superior by Jessica Lack, which is a superhero novella. It is a romance between these two teenage boys. One of them is an intern to a superhero, and the other one is an assistant or apprentice to a supervillain. And I have enjoyed everything that I've read so far. The other challenges are read a book you've read before that I don't know that I will do, read a book that has been made into a movie, which I might just do, and read a non-fiction book, which I won't do because I don't have a short non-fiction read set for myself. And the last challenge is just to read 7 books, and I have read the 3 that I showed you already, and I also read this manga, Natsume's Book of Friends Volume 1 this week, and I also read this short story called She Commands Me and I Obey by Ann Leckie from the Strange Horizons website. I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's set in the same universe as her Ancillary Justice books. So I have that list, sort of a TBR list of all the short ones that I own or that are on Scribd that I'd like to read, because Frankie from Frankie Reads tweeted a while ago about a person who was giving out a code to get 2 months of free trial for Scribd, and I hadn't even thought about trying it before because I thought that they wouldn't have a lot of selection for Finnish people. But since I had that code now, I decided to go and see what was on there, and I was pleasantly surprised. They don't have like a lot of the new stuff for Finnish people, but they do have a lot of stuff that I've been planning to buy on my Kindle. So some classic science fiction and fantasy from people like Barbara Hambly, Kate Baker, Octavia Butler and Fritz Leiber. They had a lot of those, and then also some shorts and the indie side of books. So a lot of indie authors have their books on there. So I added a bunch of those on my possible to read list. And I also started one book from there already, which is Sofia Samatar's Tender, which is her short story collection. I have read like 3 short stories from this collection so far. I was really excited to have this because it isn't on my library or my Overdrive or anywhere. And I also have a couple of my own books. I have this edition of Persuasion with Lady Susan in it. So Lady Susan is like 80 pages at the end, so it's a quick read. And that might suit for the read a book that has been made into a movie challenge. I have seen the movie adaptation of this that was for some reason called Love and Friendship, even though it adapted Lady Susan and not Love and Friendship. I also think I'm in the mood to finally read By Chance or Providence by Becky Cloonan this weekend. It's a series of comics that she self-published originally, and now they are collected in this 1 volume. And I should really start reading The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss, but I want to read the short story Rappaccini's Daughter first, either from Project Gutenberg or it's also on Scribd, I think, a collection where it is in. So I will read that short because it's like a backstory for one of the characters that features in this. And then I need to start this because I need to return it in a little over a week. I'm really focusing on reading short books and short stories, but I know that I also have the TBR challenge of reading a hardcover still left, so I also next week or this weekend need to start reading a hardcover. I could cheat and say that Lady Susan counts, but I don't think it really counts. Anyway, that's what I'm currently reading, and a little look into how my All the Short Ones or ATSO readathon is going so far. Let me know if you are taking part in the readathons right now, and also what you're currently reading, and I'll see you in my next video.